She lost everything in one afternoon. Her career vanished on lies. Her sister's medical bills arrived like clockwork. And then fate decided to play the cruelest joke. Her desperate catering gig throws her directly into the orbit of a tech billionaire who treats emotions like software bugs that need deleting. But his board demands he appear human. And she becomes his solution with a contract so cold it might as well be written in ice. Linda Peterson had always believed that keeping her head down would keep her safe. She'd spent 5 years building her reputation as the most reliable logistics manager at Centurion Corp, arriving before dawn, double-checking every shipment manifest, and creating the kind of paper trail that made auditors weep with joy. She told herself invisibility was protection. That Tuesday afternoon shattered her carefully constructed fortress. "We're terminating your employment, Miss Peterson." Her director's voice was flat, rehearsed. "The missing $200,000 from the Walker project traces directly to your access codes. Internal audit found the transfers." Linda's throat closed. "That's impossible. I never. Security will escort you out." He was already turning away, her protests dismissed like spam email. "Legal will be in touch." The elevator ride down with a bored security guard felt like falling through ice. 15 minutes later, she stood in the parking garage clutching a cardboard box, watching 5 years of cautious living evaporate like morning fog. Her phone rang. Valley Memorial Hospital. "Ms. Peterson, about your sister Emma's surgery next month. Without the insurance from your employer, we'll need payment arrangements. The total is $487,000. Of course. Because the universe wasn't finished twisting the knife. By Friday, Linda had applied to 63 positions and received 63 automated rejections. Her bank account was performing a dying gasp. When her former college roommate texted about emergency catering staff needed for a tech summit, Linda swallowed her pride. "It's just serving champagne and looking invisible," Jenna explained over a frantic phone call. "The pay is $300 for the night and the tips are insane. Plus, you might eat a $40 canopy." "You had me at pay," Linda said, managing her first smile in 4 days. The Pinnacle Hotel's rooftop ballroom that evening was all glass walls and calculated luxury, the kind of wealth that made Linda's studio apartment look like a storage closet. She wore the standard black dress and white apron, the uniform of people rich attendees never actually see. "The hors d'oeuvres for the VIP section need refreshing," the catering manager snapped, pointing toward floor-to-ceiling windows. "And whatever you do, don't make eye contact. These people don't like being reminded the help exists." Linda was balancing a tray of champagne flutes when she heard the voice. Sharp, precise, and carrying the kind of cold authority that made boardrooms fall silent. "This is completely unacceptable. Quick favor before we dive in: if you enjoy romance, chaos, and people falling in love at the worst possible times, tap subscribe, like, and say hi in the comments. I promise the drama starts immediately after." Linda turned toward the voice, her tray wobbling slightly. A man stood near the windows, tall and severe in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her former annual salary. His dark hair was precisely styled, his jaw sharp enough to cut glass. Ryan Nelsen. She recognized him from the Forbes covers, though the photographs hadn't captured the glacial quality of his stare. She moved toward the service corridor to steady herself, her mind still trapped in Tuesday's nightmare. The security guard's hand on her elbow. The cardboard box growing heavier with each step. Her supervisor's voice echoing, "The missing $200,000 traces directly to your access codes." She'd built 5 years of careful invisibility at Centurion Corp, arriving before dawn, triple-checking every manifest. She thought obscurity meant safety. Instead, it made her the perfect scapegoat. Back in the ballroom, Linda balanced a fresh tray of champagne flutes, weaving between clusters of tech executives. A silver-haired investor gestured wildly while talking, his elbow connecting with his own glass. Red wine cascaded down his white shirt. "You clumsy idiot." He whirled on Linda, his face flushing crimson. "Look what you've done." The ballroom quieted. Linda felt dozens of eyes turning toward her, already judging, already believing. "I believe you'll find the spill originated from your own glass, sir," she said evenly, her tray perfectly level. "I was 3 feet away." The investor sputtered. "How dare you?" "She's correct." Ryan Nelsen's voice cut through the tension like a scalpel. He stood behind the investor, his expression unreadable. "I watched the entire incident. Your coordination, not hers." The investor deflated, mumbling apologies before retreating. Ryan's cold gaze lingered on Linda for 3 seconds that felt like an evaluation, then he turned away. Her phone buzzed. Valley Memorial Hospital. "Ms. Peterson, about Emma's surgery. Without your insurance, we need $150,000 by next week, or we'll have to reschedule. Given her deteriorating condition." Linda's grip tightened on the tray. 5 years of safety, shattered. Emma's life, hanging by a thread she couldn't afford. The knock on her apartment door came at 9:47 p.m. on Sunday, 3 days after the catering gig. Linda peered through the peephole at a man in a black suit who definitely wasn't delivering pizza. Behind him, a blacked-out SUV idled at the curb, its windows tinted dark enough to hide secrets. Her instinct screamed danger. She opened the door anyway. Desperation had a way of overriding survival. "Miss Peterson." The man's voice was professionally neutral. "Mr. Nelsen would like a word." Before Linda could respond, Ryan Nelsen himself emerged from the SUV, moving with the purposeful stride of someone who'd never been told no. He was somehow more intimidating outside the ballroom's soft lighting, all sharp angles and controlled power in a navy suit that probably cost more than her rent. "May I come in?" It wasn't really a question. Linda stepped aside, hyper-aware of her threadbare furniture and the stack of medical bills on her kitchen counter. Ryan's gaze swept the space with the clinical assessment of someone calculating property values. He placed a leather portfolio on her coffee table. "I have a proposition that will solve your financial problems. All of them." He opened the portfolio, revealing a contract with her name already typed at the bottom. "I need a fiancé for 1 year. You need $500,000. I'm offering you something more valuable than money, Miss Peterson." His cold eyes met hers. "I'm offering you safety." Linda signed the contract at 11:23 p.m., her hand only shaking slightly. By Wednesday morning, she stood in the marble foyer of Ryan's mansion, a single suitcase at her feet, feeling like she'd sold her soul and received a museum in return. "Your room is on the 2nd floor, East Wing." Ryan gestured vaguely toward a floating staircase that looked like it defied physics. "Mrs. Chen will show you the house rules." House rules? As if she were a pet being house-trained. The housekeeper appeared with a laminated list. No shoes in the house. No food outside the kitchen. No touching the art. No rearranging furniture. No overnight guests. The list went on for 2 pages. "Does he have rules for breathing too?" Linda muttered. "Yes," Mrs. Chen said without humor. Quietly. The clash started within hours. Linda left her coffee mug on the living room side table. Ryan moved it to a coaster with the precision of a bomb technician. She draped a blanket over the sofa. He folded it into a perfect rectangle. She tried to add a photo of Emma to the bookshelf. "This is a curated space," Ryan said, removing the frame. "Not a scrapbook." "This is a mausoleum," Linda shot back. "Not a home." His jaw tightened. "You're here to play a role, Miss Peterson. Not to redecorate. The role is fiancé, not ghost." She planted her hands on her hips. "Or do you want your board to think you're engaged to a woman who doesn't actually live here?" For a long moment, Ryan stared at her with those ice-chip eyes. Then he placed the photo back on the shelf, 1 millimeter off-center from where she'd put it. "One photo," he said. "Don't push your luck." The mountain retreat arrived too soon. Ryan's family estate in Aspen was all timber beams and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking snow-dusted peaks, filled with people who smiled with their mouths but not their eyes. "So you're the logistics manager," Ryan's mother said over champagne, the word logistics dripping with the same tone one might use for rodent exterminator. "How charming." Ryan usually dates women with more established careers. Linda felt Ryan's hand settle on her lower back, warm through the silk of her borrowed dress. "Linda's brilliant," he said smoothly. "She organized a supply chain overhaul that saved Centurion $2 million annually." The lie came so easily it almost sounded true. Linda leaned into him, playing her part. "He's being modest. I just moved boxes around." "She's being modest," Ryan countered, his fingers pressing slightly against her spine. A warning or encouragement, she couldn't tell. The weekend became a performance. Ryan's uncle, a board member with vulture eyes, watched them during dinner. His sister asked pointed questions about their engagement timeline. His business partner cornered Linda by the fireplace. "Ryan doesn't do love," he said quietly. "He does mergers and acquisitions." "Which category are you?" "Ask him," Linda replied, keeping her smile frozen. The real test came Saturday night. The board gathered in the study for drinks, and Ryan pulled Linda onto his lap with casual possessiveness. "Tell them about the proposal," his uncle demanded. Ryan's arm tightened around her waist. Linda felt his heart beating against her back, faster than his expressionless face suggested. She was supposed to save him. Instead, she was drowning alongside him. "It was raining," she began, improvising desperately. They survived the weekend through careful choreography and strategic touches. But Monday night, Linda found Ryan in his study at 3 a.m., surrounded by architectural drawings of a house that no longer existed. "My childhood home," he said without looking up, his voice stripped of its usual precision. "Burned down when I was 9. My father was inside, trying to save his files. He worked from home, kept everything on paper. No backups, no cloud storage. Just paper." Linda moved closer, seeing the drawings for what they were. Grief frozen in blueprints. "He died for information that could have been saved a dozen other ways," Ryan continued. "I learned early that chaos kills. Control keeps people alive. Control keeps people alone," Linda said softly. His eyes met hers, and for one unguarded moment, she saw past the Ice King to the 9-year-old boy who'd lost everything to disorder. The following Thursday, Ryan found her at Valley Memorial, curled in a waiting room chair after Emma's pre-surgery consultation. Her face was blotchy, her careful composure shattered. "They moved the surgery up," Linda whispered. "Her heart is deteriorating faster than they thought. If the procedure fails..." Ryan sat beside her, his suit jacket brushing her shoulder. "It won't. You can't know that." "No." He took her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. "But I can make sure she has the best cardiac team in the country. I already made calls." Linda stared at their joined hands. "That wasn't in the contract." "Neither was this." Ryan's voice was almost gentle. "But apparently I'm capable of improvisation." Emma's surgery was scheduled for Friday. Linda couldn't sleep Thursday night, her mind cycling through worst-case scenarios with the efficiency of a torture device. She found herself in Ryan's library at midnight, drawn by the warm glow seeping under the door. Ryan sat in a leather chair by the fireplace, reading glasses perched on his nose, looking almost human. He glanced up, and something in his expression softened. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Can't stop thinking." Linda wrapped her arms around herself. "Every time I close my eyes, I see Emma on that operating table." Ryan set down his book. "Come here." She should have stayed by the door, maintained the professional distance the contract required. Instead, she crossed the room and sank onto the sofa beside his chair. He poured amber liquid into a glass and handed it to her. "Whiskey won't fix anything," she said. "No. But it makes the waiting more bearable." They sat in silence, the fire crackling between words. Linda studied him in the dim light, this man who'd bought her compliance but somehow earned something more. "Why did you really choose me?" she asked. "There must have been easier candidates. Women who'd jump at this without the complications." Ryan's jaw tightened. "You didn't apologize for something that wasn't your fault. At the summit, when that investor spilled wine on your tray and blamed you, you looked him in the eye and said, 'I believe you'll find the spill originated from your own glass, sir.' Most people fold under pressure. You didn't. That's why you're paying me $500,000? Because I have a spine? I'm paying you because I need someone who won't break under scrutiny." He leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, close enough that she could see the faint scar above his eyebrow. "But I'm sitting here at midnight because somewhere between the contract and the hospital, you became something the agreement didn't account for." "What's that?" "Real." The word hung between them like a confession. Linda set down her glass, her hand trembling slightly. "Ryan." He kissed her. Not the practiced kisses they'd performed for his family, not the careful touches designed for cameras. This was raw and desperate, his hand cupping her face like she was something precious that might disappear. Linda kissed him back, her fingers tangling in his hair, all the fear and loneliness of the past weeks pouring into the connection. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, the contract felt like something that belonged to two different people. Emma's surgery went flawlessly. Linda spent the recovery days floating between the hospital and Ryan's mansion, her hand finding his with increasing frequency. They stopped pretending the touches were for show. Then Monday's headlines detonated their carefully constructed world. Tech billionaire's bride for hire, Nelsen allegedly paid $500,000 to accused embezzler. Linda's coffee mug slipped from her hands, shattering across the kitchen tile. Her phone erupted with notifications. News alerts. Unknown numbers. Her photo plastered across every major outlet, the security footage from Centurion Corp somehow leaked alongside transaction records that made the contract look like hush money. Ryan stormed into the kitchen, his phone pressed to his ear, his usual composure fractured. "I don't care what the legal team says. Find the source. Now." He ended the call, his knuckles white around the device. "Marcus Vance," he said flatly. "My former CTO. He's been trying to stage a board coup for 6 months. This is his checkmate." The article painted a sordid picture. Ryan Nelsen, desperate to appear stable for his merger, purchasing the loyalty of a disgraced logistics manager with a criminal investigation hanging over her head. Linda Peterson, the embezzler who'd found a billionaire willing to make her legal problems disappear. The contract wasn't a safety net, it was a cover-up for both their sins. "They're saying you bought me to hide your own financial irregularities," Linda whispered, scrolling through the comments. Thousands of strangers dissecting her life, calling her a gold digger, a criminal, a liar. Ryan's hand closed over her phone, pulling it away. "Don't read that poison. It's not poison if it's true." Her voice cracked. "We did sign a contract. I am under investigation. You did pay me. The context doesn't matter to them." Linda gestured at the screens. "Marcus found the truth and weaponized it. The merger meeting is Friday. Your board will never approve this now." Ryan's jaw clenched. "Then we fight back." "With what? More lies?" She backed away, the weight of the scandal crushing her carefully rebuilt sense of safety. "I destroyed your reputation. Your company. Everything you built for a merger that's now dead." "You didn't destroy anything," Ryan said, his voice low and fierce. "Marcus did. And I'm not letting him win." Friday arrived like an execution date. The merger signing was scheduled for 2 p.m. at Nelsen Tech's headquarters, followed by a press conference. Linda watched from Ryan's office as board members filed into the building, their expressions ranging from skeptical to openly hostile. Marcus Vance arrived last, his smile sharp as a blade. "You should go," Ryan said quietly, adjusting his tie in the reflection of the window. "This is going to get ugly." "I'm the reason it's ugly." Linda stood her ground. I'm not running anymore. The boardroom felt like a gladiator arena. 20 executives sat around the obsidian table, merger documents stacked in front of Ryan's empty chair. Linda stood against the back wall, feeling every judgmental gaze like a physical weight. Ryan entered last, his expression carved from ice. He didn't sit. Before we proceed, the board chairman said, his voice clipped with barely concealed contempt, we need to address the allegations. The merger depends on Nelsen Tech's reputation remaining intact. Your arrangement with Miss Peterson has compromised that integrity. The contract was a mistake, Marcus Vance said smoothly, leaning back in his chair. An impulsive decision that's cost us billions in stock value this week. The solution is simple. Terminate the engagement, settle with Miss Peterson quietly, and proceed with the merger. Unless you value a hired girlfriend more than this company's future. The room fell silent. Linda felt her throat close. This was it. The moment Ryan would choose his empire over the mess she'd brought to his doorstep. She couldn't even blame him. Ryan picked up the merger documents. 500 pages representing 18 months of negotiations, a $12 billion deal that would cement his legacy as one of the greatest tech minds of his generation. He tore the first page in half. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Board members surged to their feet, voices rising in protest. Ryan kept tearing, methodical and precise, reducing months of work to confetti. What the hell are you doing? The chairman shouted. Ryan's voice cut through the chaos. I'm choosing the woman who taught me that control isn't safety, and profit isn't purpose. He turned to face Linda, his eyes blazing with something that looked like freedom. The contract was never a mistake. Treating it like a transaction was. You're destroying your company for an embezzler? Marcus spat. I'm destroying your coup. Ryan's smile was dangerous. Linda Peterson was framed. I've had investigators working for 2 weeks. Your associate, David Chen from Centurion Corp's accounting department, falsified those transfer records to cover his own theft. He confessed yesterday in exchange for immunity. The evidence is already with the prosecutor. Marcus's face drained of color. As for the contract, Ryan continued, his gaze never leaving Linda's. Yes, it was transactional. And yes, I offered her money. But somewhere between the signatures and now, I fell in love with a woman who stands up to entitled investors, who fights for her sister with everything she has, and who looked at my sterile mansion and insisted it needed a soul. He crossed the room, stopping inches from her. The merger isn't worth losing her. The company isn't worth losing her. Nothing is. The boardroom erupted again. Ryan ignored them, his hands cupping Linda's face. I'm sorry I made you feel purchased, he whispered. You were never for sale. You were always invaluable. Linda's tears spilled over. You just destroyed a $12 billion deal for me. No. His thumb wiped away her tears. I just figured out what actually matters. The press conference 20 minutes later was chaos. Ryan stood at the podium, Linda at his side, and told the truth. All of it. The contract. The framing. Marcus's conspiracy. The investigation that cleared her name. I'm not asking you to approve of how this started, Ryan said to the sea of reporters and flashing cameras. I'm asking you to see what it became. Real. Messy. Human. Everything I spent my life avoiding because I thought control was strength. Linda taught me that love is stronger. The board filed out in silent fury. The merger was dead. Marcus was escorted out by security. But Ryan's hand in Linda's never wavered, and when she looked at him, she finally understood what safety actually meant. It wasn't a contract. It was this. 6 months later, Linda stood in the kitchen of Ryan's mansion, their mansion now, watching Emma laugh at something on her phone. The scar from her surgery had faded to a thin line, barely visible beneath her summer dress. Her color was healthy, her energy boundless. The girl who'd been weeks from heart failure now complained about her physical therapy exercises being too easy. "Your fiancé is obsessively adjusting the garden chairs again," Emma said, glancing out the window. "You know that's a sign of affection in his language, right?" Linda smiled. Ryan had learned to tolerate her scattered books and coffee mugs. She'd learned that his need for order wasn't coldness, it was love expressed through creating safe spaces. The mansion had slowly transformed, her photo of Emma now surrounded by candid shots of their life together. The sterile museum had become a home. The legal battles had taken 3 months. David Chen's confession unraveled the entire embezzlement scheme, Marcus Vance's involvement in suppressing evidence, and the conspiracy to frame Linda. Her name was cleared. Chen was serving 7 years. Marcus lost everything. The merger collapsed, but Ryan rebuilt differently. Smaller. More intentional. Less obsessed with domination, more focused on innovation. The board that had demanded he prove his stability was replaced by people who valued vision over appearance. His company thrived without the $12 billion deal, proving that control had been an illusion all along. "Ready?" Ryan appeared in the doorway, devastatingly handsome in a navy suit that actually allowed for wrinkles now. He'd learned to breathe without schedules. Linda glanced at the document on the counter. A marriage license. No clauses about duration or financial arrangements. No escape hatches or performance metrics. Just 2 names and a promise that didn't come with an expiration date. "This is very different from the last contract we signed," she said. Ryan crossed to her, his hand settling on her waist with the easy familiarity of someone who'd earned the right to touch. "The last contract was about survival. This one's about living. No safety net? You're my safety net." He kissed her softly. "Turns out the woman who refused to apologize for spilled wine was exactly what I needed. Someone who'd push back, mess up my perfect spaces, and teach me that chaos isn't always dangerous." Emma made exaggerated gagging sounds. "Can you two be disgustingly in love after I leave?" They signed the license that afternoon in the courthouse, Emma as their witness. No cameras, no press, no board members evaluating their authenticity. Just a judge, 2 signatures, and the understanding that the best contracts were the ones written by choice, not desperation. Walking out into the afternoon sun, Ryan pulled Linda close. "So, Mrs. Nelsen. What now?" Linda looked at the man who'd offered her safety and given her so much more. "Now we figure it out as we go." "No plan?" "No plan." She grinned. "Think you can handle that?" Ryan's laugh was warm and real. "With you? I'm learning." Subscribe for more stories like this, like the video if it touched you, and come talk to me in the comments, I read every one.